this is like we're getting into like some serious drama here. So, um, on a parallel thread, I'd like met someone and they said like if you come through Germany, stop by. And I said, okay, well, on my way to India, I'm gonna stop by Daimler headquarters and talk to them, and see if there's any kind of partnership that could be had. This is, I forget the exact. It's right before I gave the IAC talk, so that like it would be uh, that's how one could place it.
Hello and welcome to the channel, guys. So today we'll look into some interesting recent interview that Elon Musk gave. He was talking to the fantastic team of the Tesla owners of Silicon Valley, and they had a good interview. So in this interview, Elon described about the early days of Tesla and the deal with Daimler that helped save Tesla. So this is an interesting insight, and let's start hearing the rest of the interview.
And I met with their engineering team, and I said, like, is there anything you guys like? What do you guys want? Like, is there, I'm trying to play cool here, even though, like, we desperately need some kind of partnership or we're screwed. And they said, well, they're thinking about an electric smart car.
Okay, so Elon here is describing his first meeting with Daimler execs. So at the time, Daimler company was looking to make a smart electric car as a side project. This was around 2007. So Elon met the execs in Stuttgart, Germany in September of 2007. And he basically pitched his idea of electric vehicles and something collaboration, but at the time they didn't really want to go that route. But in 2007 the Tesla Roadster was out and it was creating a lot of buzz around the car industry, and Daimler wanted to get into the action, and they were curious about Tesla, so that's why they wanted to talk to him. And also for their side project, the smart EV car, they were looking for suppliers for the batteries. So they were talking different suppliers, and Tesla happened to be one of them. Let's continue, Elon.
So I was like, okay, if we were to do something, when would you want to see it? And I said, well, we've got like a delegation of Daimler executives coming through in January of 2009. And I think this was October or something like that. And I talked to JB, and like Drew and Scott and Vineet and a bunch of others. I was like, guys, we need to get a smart car, and we need to stuff a Roadster powertrain into it and make it a custom battery, and it needs to work by the time the Daimler team comes here in January.
So this is really interesting. So after the initial meeting between Elon and the Daimler company, after 2 months later, the head of the Daimler's advanced engineering department, Herbert Holler, emailed Elon, and he told him that he and other Daimler execs, they would be in California in 6 weeks' time, and they are willing to give a look at Tesla's technology. So Elon and his team had only 6 weeks to impress the Daimler team. Then let's hear what happened next.
Oh my god. Oh my.
We can interview JB about it, and maybe he'd like add some additional color. So the problem was that there were no smart cars were not being sold in the U.S., but they were being sold in Mexico. So we sent someone to Mexico to just buy a smart car and drive across the border. So this is a gasoline smart car, so just with Mexican plates. So we went and bought a smart car in Mexico, drove it across the border, and then literally put a Roadster drive unit and modified battery pack in the smart car and had it working by January when the Daimler delegation came by.
So this is really interesting stuff. So in 6 weeks' time, Elon ordered his team to produce a smart car fitted with EV components. So at the time, JB, who was in charge of the engineering department of Tesla, he looked for smart cars in the US, but at the time, smart cars were not being sold in the US. So after a quick research, the Tesla team found out that in Mexico there was a dealer that had stock of smart cars that Daimler manufactures. Actually, at the time, Daimler used to sell smart cars not in the US but around the world. So they sent someone fluent in Spanish to Mexico, a Tesla employee, with 20,000 cash full of in a bag, and he went there, bought the car, and he drove it back to the US. And the town was called in Mexico Tijuana or Tijuana. I'm not good at Spanish, so I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's something like that. And they drove it back to the Tesla headquarters, and they started to work on it. The gas engine was 83 horsepower. They took it out and they refashioned a Roadster motor to power it. And they didn't touch the interior, and the outside also they leave it as it is so that it doesn't look like it has been modified. So they fitted the motor and the Tesla Roadster battery pack. And after a 5.5 week of non-stop day and night work, they made it ready for the Daimler team to look at. Let's keep listening.
And I remember that being in that Daimler meeting, and man, they're like, why? Clearly they're quite grumpy that they even had to meet with us. They did not know we had this electric smart car, so they're grumpy that they had to meet with us, and we're clearly trying to get out of the room as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And when we started off, made the mistake of starting off with PowerPoint, which immediately made them even grumpier because everything works in PowerPoint, and they've seen way too many PowerPoint slides, and they were like literally getting ready to they were going to just walk out from the PowerPoint presentation. I said, "Well, would you like to drive the car?" They're like, "Well, what do you mean?" It's like, "Well, we have an electric smart car. Do you want to drive it?" Like, you don't have an electric smart car. That's impossible. Like, yeah, it's just in the parking lot. You can go drive it. Actually, it was not only was a smart car, it was fucking sick. Like, this thing had a Roadster powertrain in a smart car. The power to weight ratio of this thing was bananas. It's like you could pull wheelies in a smart car. Literally, if you
Could it
stepped,
fly?
yeah, you could lift the front wheels off the deck.
So Tesla got the smart car ready for the Daimler team to look at. So first, at the time, there was Elon presented a PowerPoint presentation for the Daimler team about Roadster's technology, and they were not impressed initially because they didn't fly to the US to talk about the Roadster. They were interested whether Tesla at the time can mass produce the battery packs they quickly need for their smart car project. So when the team was about to give up the meeting, Elon asked them if they want to see the smart car prototype, and they didn't believe him. So they went to the parking lot and he showed them the smart car electric vehicle, and they were impressed. And their team leader Holler asked if he can test drive it, and he got behind the wheel. Musk hopped in the passenger seat, and he drove away. The Holler drove it for 15 minutes, and then by the end of it, he shook Musk's hand and said, "All right, you've got. Let's talk about partnership then." and the whole Daimler team was impressed.
Motorcycle torque on a four-wheel vehicle.
Yeah, motorcycle torque on a four-wheel vehicle. It was insane. You could burn rubber in a smart car. It looked bizarre. Like
Yeah.
you just never seen a thing move like that.
Then I might actually drive a smart car if it was like
Yeah,
that.
it was awesome. Anyway, so that we kind of which blew their minds. Like they're like, "What? How is this? This is like, what impossible black magic have you figured out to have like an electric smart car?" And it's like, well, we got one from Mexico 3 months ago, and we put a roadster powertrain in it and a modified battery pack, and you can still use the car. Like the interior of the car was still fully usable, so we didn't like intrude on the interior space. And we're like, yeah, we can. And they're like, okay, well, this is pretty impressive. They've never seen anything like this before. So then they're like, okay, well, they'll consider that they will do some smart car limited production. Like part of this is because they had to make the regulators happy. So this was not like, they needed like some, sustainable energy cars to make the regulators happy. That was the reason for this electric smart car.
The fuel, the fleet miles.
It was not a grand vision by Daimler to go electric.
No.
It was to get these annoying regulators off our back. So
For the credits, right?
yeah, there was like
Compliance.
it's compliance vehicles. So it's like there was like a minimum number of electric vehicles that had to be made. They could also make fuel cell vehicles, but those were way more expensive.
Yeah.
So from their standpoint, it was at the time it was really more like what's the least amount of money we can spend and get the regulators off the regulator monkey off our back.
So Daimler's initial intention was to manufacture 1,000 smart electric vehicles, and their plan was for Tesla to supply them with battery pack technology. So Tesla did that, they manufactured them, and Daimler thought if those 1,000 testing vehicles were successful, at the time they said they would manufacture tens of thousands of them, but sadly that didn't materialize. Anyways, the initial prototype projects helped to save Tesla, because Daimler invested for the 1,000 vehicles. They paid Tesla around $40 million, and then later, shortly after that, they bought 10% of Tesla for $50 million, which helped Tesla to keep going for another 6 months, which otherwise we may not have a Tesla company by now. So it was a really important project for Tesla.
So like, anyway, so we ended up making a bunch of electric smart cars for Daimler, and then over time we actually extended that into an electric A/B class, but they were always just really compliance vehicles. They did not want to Daimler was not willing to place at that time a big bet on electric vehicles.
So this is a really interesting point. Daimler at the time did not take the EV business seriously. I don't blame them, because during 2007, 8 and 9 there was a recession, and every automaker did not want to touch EV, so nobody was going after that because there was no market. But Tesla saw that there is a potential in the future. Not every company saw that. So at the time, Daimler's market cap in 2008 was around $34 billion, while right now in 2022, Daimler's market cap is $71 billion. By contrast, Tesla's market cap in 2008 was around approximately $500 million. Right now, Tesla's market cap in 2022 is more than $700 billion. And sometimes it goes above $1 trillion. So it's a big miss by Daimler. If they had continued with it, they would have gotten most of the chunk of this growth. So it's disappointing.
and so the volume and the price were always like the volume's too low, the price is too high. These are going to be niche vehicles no matter what. And but anyway, so what it did lead to, which was really essential, was Tesla getting saved by Daimler investing $50 million. So the $40 million invested in December of 2008 just gave us 6 months of runway. So that basically gave us until June of 2009. And again, during this period, General Motors is bankrupt, Chrysler is bankrupt. So not a lot of people are interested in investing in a startup car company, let alone an electric car company.
Yeah.
And remember, this is back when electric was synonymous with dumb. You could just say, instead of using the word electric car company, you could just substitute dumb. Do you want to invest in a dumb car company? That's what it sounded like to most people.
So at the time, most car companies were going bankrupt, including GM, Ford, and Chrysler, and every automaker in the world. They were taking losses. So for Tesla, it was not different also. So Tesla was struggling and looking for cash to survive. So Elon's strategy at the time was to sell its battery pack project technology for major automakers and make and raise some cash. So Elon was going around the world and talking to large auto companies at the time, and it must have been very difficult, but they made it.
So at the time, I think Daimler vaguely thought that the Volkswagen Group might invest in Tesla, and they didn't want that. So they were essentially to block VW from investing in Tesla, which, by the way, VW was not going to invest in Tesla. I talked to their person, and they expressed some initial interest, but then they went dark on me. So actually, the only investor that was interested in Tesla at all was Daimler, and that was because of the Electric Smart program.
Wow.
So they invested $50 million into Tesla at roughly a $500 million valuation. So it worked out.
Yeah.
So this is the final part for today. So we have seen the really interesting insight into the deal between Daimler and Tesla that gave a lifeline to Tesla. But we can also here observe the leadership and the skill of Elon. If it wasn't for him, Tesla wouldn't advertise its battery pack technology, which it developed under the leadership of Elon also, and they wouldn't have made such kind of deals and saved the company. Yeah, so it's a really interesting story. That's all I have for today. Thank you for joining us. So I'll see you next time with another Tesla updates. Until then, take care.